Hello, and welcome to Own Your Retirement. My name is Albert Lalonde from Kaizen Financial Group. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, give us a call at 586-752-7008 or visit us online at www.kaizenfinancialgroup.com. And that's Kaizen. And while on my webcast, or I'm sorry, at my webpage, click on the podcast page to check out past shows and to subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or Amazon Music. Okay, even in our technology driven world, a simple peek at the horizon can give us a lot of good information. On one of those hot summer nights, you can look at the horizon and see if a storm may be on its way. And when you're cruising down the highway, you can actually keep your gaze fixed on the horizon for any, I would say, distance of potential danger. But
Sure.
there's also a lot of potential value in investment time horizons. For example, you can look at your distant financial time horizon and set goals that you can then spend the subsequent years trying to reach. But as you head toward the far off financial time horizon, you can work with your financial services professional to make necessary changes to your financial strategy that keeps you efficiently heading towards your goal. So, during our time together today, we're going to have a comprehensive chat about investment time horizons with an emphasis on how those horizons can help you define and reach your retirement goals. But let me first introduce my co host, Tony Shore, whose retirement, I'm pleased to note, is still off on distant horizon.
Yeah, it's a distant horizon. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Albert, yeah, when you first sent me the script, I thought we're going to talk about the event horizon. This is about black holes or science fiction,
Right, right.
but no, the time horizon and my time horizon, as long as my voice holds out, Albert,
Wow, there you
I'm not
go.
gonna quit this job. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we don't
Yeah.
want you to quit either. So there you go. We love
No,
having
no,
you.
retirement's a ways off yet.
All right, good.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm not that old. I mean, I'm old. People say I'm old, but yeah. I got a ways to go, and you got even further to go. Look at
Yes.
you. Yeah, you'll be doing this for another 50, 60 years before you're ready
Uh,
to retire.
we'll see about the 50, 60.
So, Albert, great topic today. First of all, you and I were talking. We've had a great week last weekend. Had some
Yes,
nice weather,
of
right? Got
course.
out,
Yes, yes.
enjoyed that.
Yes, it was great weather, great weekend here in Michigan. It's boating season time now. So everyone's getting their boat out and getting ready
Yep.
for this next holiday weekend coming up.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be a good one. So, where do you want to begin with this topic? I think it's a really good one.
Yeah, let's begin by articulating what financial time horizons are. First, an Investopedia article titled, What is an Investment Time Horizon? It actually spells it out nicely by noting that investment time horizons are the periods of time you expect to hold an investment until you need that money back. Now, financial time horizons are typically built around your unique goals. For example, if you want to put away enough money, let's say for the down payment of your first home within the next 5 years, that would be a short term horizon. Excuse me. But if you have children and want to save for their college educations, that would be classified as a medium term time horizon. Finally, if you're still new to your career but are eager to begin saving for your eventual retirement, that would be a long term time horizon.
Okay. Those are good examples. So we all have different time horizons. We're at different stages. But how do we go about investing with each of those time horizons? Maybe you could dig into each one a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me. As the article notes, investments are typically broken down into two categories: stocks and bonds. Now, stocks tend to be viewed as a riskier, and bonds, therefore, are considered less risky. The longer your investment time horizon, however, the more aggressive you may want to be with your investments. Here, your financial services professionals may be able to help devise a strategy that guides you through inevitable ups and downs in the market. And if you're looking, let's say, at a shorter time horizon, you and your financial services professional will most likely want to operate more conservatively using options that are generally less risky.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we all want to manage risk. You've talked about that on past shows, Albert. But in regards to the short term time horizon, what kind of investments are you looking at there where you're getting closer to retirement?
Well, generally, your short term horizon is constructed around investments you and your financial service professional anticipate lasting no more than 5 years. Now, these are typically investments that are ideal for people nearing retirement or those who may need a sizable amount of money relatively soon. The article notes that money market funds, saving accounts, and certificate of deposits and short term bonds are often reasonable short term investment options because they can be easily liquidated into cash. And right now, these rates are really good in those categories.
Yeah, they really are actually, and take advantage of the current interest rates when it comes to shorter term time horizon investments. That's good advice. Now, hopefully the options available during the short-term financial time horizon have shown our listeners that even if they're close to retirement, there are ways out there to increase their nest egg. I mean, even though you're not taking as much risk, you still can have some growth, is what you're saying.
Correct, correct. And then if we look at, let's say, the medium term investment time horizon, that includes investments that you would want to keep from about, let's say, 3 years to, let's say, a decade. Now, this could include things like saving for money for college or your wedding or your first home. And as the name suggests, medium term investments are designed to create a balance between high and low risk assets.
Hmm.
Now, typically, a medium term horizon includes a mix of stocks and bonds intended to help protect your wealth as much as possible without losing value due to inflation.
Well, yeah, inflation can be a killer. And now this brings us to one that we've all been waiting for, the long term time horizon. What do you have for us on that one?
Well, the long term horizon is made up of investments that you and your financial services professional agree you should hold for at least 10 to 20 years, if not longer. Now, with the long term horizon, a frequent goal is building reliable retirement income. However, if you have several years to go before you hit retirement, you and your financial services professional may have enough runway to be prudently aggressive.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the short, medium, and long-term horizons. Why are those so important to our financial strategies? Why does this make such a big difference?
Well, these horizons can be used as a guide for choosing the type of investments products that best fit both your needs and your goals. Then, as your horizons change over time, it will likely be easier to adjust your overall financial strategy.
Yeah, and speaking of that overall financial strategy, Albert, how can our listeners set up a consultation to either get a plan in place or get a second opinion on where they're at with their finances?
Yeah, folks, if you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, just give us a call at 586-752-7008 or visit us online at www.kaizenfinancialgroup.com. That's Kaizen Kaizen.
All right. So, I'm sure people may have heard about investment time horizons, but this conversation has helped bring it into focus. What do you have for us next on this?
Well, the Investopedia article, What's an Investment Time Horizon, does an excellent job of breaking down investment horizons and risk. And I'd like to let next focus on just that. So many of our listeners likely already know that any type of investment comes with a certain amount of risk, and that risk should be factored into your financial strategy. Now, businesses often fail and sometimes borrowers default, and even an investment that seems rock solid can take a beating during a, let's say, market downturn. So, when it comes to assessing investment risk, I think working with a financial services professional, if you aren't already, is one of the best moves you can really make.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners out there, we all eventually worry about risk with our money, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm glad we're talking about it today.
Well, remember, as you hear these different types of risks, think carefully about how each would fit into your unique time horizon. In fact, the first one, inflationary risk, is certainly one that's, well, dominated the financial news for a few years now. Gas prices, food prices. It seems like the cost of everything is going up and up and up. And as Investopedia notes, bonds are especially vulnerable to inflation because coupon rates are usually fixed. Therefore, a jump in inflation has the potential to eat away at expected gains from an investment. But the article also notes that it may be possible to reduce some inflationary risk by utilizing Treasury inflation protected securities, or what we call TIPS. Now, if you're unfamiliar with those, they're a great topic to discuss with the financial services professional because TIPS aren't risk free. Like with conventional bonds, TIPS do come with interest rate risk.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad that's interesting. You can't turn on the news or read something on the internet without hearing about inflation right now.
Mhm.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that's top of mind for a lot of our listeners out there.
It is. But the next risk that one to be aware of is interest rate risk. Now, this is simply the possibility of an unexpected interest rate increase that could also chip away at investment gains, as we saw this in 2022. And as with inflationary risk, this is often a particular worry for fixed income securities like bonds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon to hear stories about a business folding or going out of business. I mean, sometimes it's a local business, like my favorite pizza joint here in town, locally owned, going out of business after
Oh,
years and years. Yeah, it's too bad. But also, big companies,
hmm.
with a big reach that crosses borders can go out of business too. Where do situations like that factor into what we're talking about today?
Well, certainly business risk is another factor that you should be very aware of. As the article tells us, business risk is nothing more than the chance that a company might fold or run out of money, which would then cause the value of its stock and bonds to plunge. Well, you don't need a business degree to know that any company can go broke, but you may be able to provide yourself with at least some degree of protection by researching the history and business plans of the companies you're considering investing in. And also, work with your financial services professional to make sure you aren't investing too heavily in one place. Like for me, a well diversified portfolio, well, is a good portfolio.
Yeah. And it seems like the rapid pace of technology these days causes our economy to get hit with changes as well. And so, working with somebody like yourself, Albert, just makes sense to make sure that you're appropriately diversified
Hmm.
and your assets are allocated correctly and in the right places for your goals. And it's hard to stay on top of things these days. That's why I think it's important to work with somebody like yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Tony. I mean, make sure you have someone that's on your side,
Yeah.
because we have also another risk, which is default risk. It's a significant element that you should, well, be very familiar with. This is
Mm.
the chance that a borrower won't be able to pay everything they owe. Often this applies to bond issuers, though it's possible that it may also affect other debt based securities. And as the article tells us, you may be able to reduce some of your exposure to default risk by working closely again with your financial services professional.
All right. And when it comes to our investments and our savings, we haven't touched on the biggest risk that is out there, one of the biggest, and that's market risk. What about market risk?
Yeah, nice call there, Tony. Because market risk is actually the article's next and last piece of insight, market risk at its root is the chance that an investment may be harmed by speculative behavior, market crashes, or significant world events. Now, according to the article, because markets have historically risen over time, market risk is often more of a danger to both short and medium term investment horizons.
Hmm. Interesting. So, nicely stated, and I agree with you there, Albert. But we need to be working toward building lasting wealth, right? And
Mm,
I think it's exciting, but it can be nerve wracking. So, again, partner with a fiduciary, a financial professional like yourself who can set emotions aside and confidently provide you with calm insight and guidance, remove your own emotions from it. And that's a big part of how you help out your clients, right?
for sure. For sure. That's what you want to do. Um, You know, as with any other piece of, let's say, overall financial strategies, your investment time horizon should be well tailored to you. And now that sounds like, I'm hedging, but the truth is there isn't a one size fits all solution here. Because interest compounds automatically, an investment horizon that's in the distant future may provide you with the opportunity to enjoy bigger profits than either a short term or medium term horizon. And
Mm.
that's why it's so vital to begin saving for retirement as soon as possible. Now, remember, even a relatively small investment today can produce solid returns if it has years or decades to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I keep bringing up working with somebody like yourself, Albert, during the show today, but I just want to reiterate that, you have experience, you get to know a person and what their goals are and what their time horizons are. Everybody's situation is different, right?
Hmm.
So that's why it's important to work with somebody like yourself to determine what your time horizons are and how you can best meet them by putting money in different areas and doing different things, right?
Yeah, I mean, nicely stated, Tony. And I certainly agree with you. Working toward building lasting wealth is
Yeah.
both exciting and nerve wracking. So, partnering with a financial service professional who can set emotions aside and confidently provide you with calm insight and guidance, well, that is very, very important.
hmm Oh, it's huge. Yeah. And so, we've been looking into short, medium, and long term horizons today. I think it's been a good show. What do you have for us next?
Well, there's much more interesting info about investment time horizons, so let's just jump right to it. A second Investopedia article, titled "Using Time Horizons to Reach Your Investing Goals," provides some more insight into today's topic by addressing some specific investment opportunities. So, as our chat today has made clear, timing is critical.
Yeah.
Poor timing, whether it's failing to leave early enough, let's say, to get to work on time, or making an investment at an unwise time, can have lasting consequences. With that in mind, the financial services industry has created investments designed to help you, well, get the timing right.
Hmm. Okay. Now I'm curious. Tell us more about those investments.
Well, yes. Let's first look at target date funds, which are mutual funds that, well, according to the article, automatically reset the mix of assets in your portfolio across stocks, bonds, and cash. Now, often these are used as retirement savings tools, with the combination of investments growing more conservative as you get closer to retirement and your time horizon begins shrinking. For example, a target date fund designed to help secure your preferred retirement, let's say 3 or 4 decades in the future, may contain a mix of investments that lean heavily towards stocks, and that has a small number of bonds and even smaller amount of cash. Now, jump ahead 25 or 30 years, and that mix may very well be the polar opposite of what it is today, with cash now serving as your portfolio's biggest component, followed by a limited number of bonds and very few stocks.
Okay. Makes sense. And early on, when you're still in that long term investment horizon, when you're a little younger, stocks are probably a great option. And, risk is okay. But as your retirement draws closer, from what you're saying here, Albert, it's going to likely be time to get a little more conservative, more cautious, have an action plan that's going to protect your principal there. And that hits home with me.
Good, good. I mean, it should hit home to everybody on understanding this. Now, the next article, or I should say, the article next addresses college savings plans and qualified tuition plans, which are often referred to as 529 plans. Now, these options may help investors manage the costs of primary and secondary schools, universities and colleges, vocational schools, and apprenticeships. So 529 plans are so named because of Section 529 of the Internal Revenue Code. And these tax advantage plans are designed to help investors cover the cost of tuition, room and board, books, and various other educational expenses.
Yeah, I'm somewhat familiar, but can you tell us a little bit more about how they work for our listeners out there?
Sure. One solid option is a plan that helps you set aside a fixed amount of money that's generally invested in a pre approved list of mutual funds. But time horizons factor in here because many of these funds are age based in a way that's comparable to, let's say, target date funds. As your kids age and the idea of paying their tuition draws closer to reality, your asset allocation may become more conservative. Again, because the value of your portfolio goes up and down with the market, automatic adjustments shift money to more conservative investments with the goal of reducing the chance that a market downturn will delete your savings just when it's time to begin paying the tuition bills. Now,
Mm,
be aware though that there's a potential negative here because it's possible that the investment growth in this scenario won't be large enough to cover the entire amount of tuition you owe.
yeah, that is true. We have 3 kids in college, and don't we know it that, yeah, we got money in 529 plans, but, yeah, it's not gonna cover everything, so you've gotta make sure that you have a plan in place, to do that,
Yes.
and, like you say, if you were talking about the upside of these things, you've gotta also consider a downside, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, let's discuss mutual funds, for example. The article holds up as a fairly simple way to diversify your portfolio, but choosing investments that automatically move assets to either cash or income oriented tools isn't your only option if you want to invest within your necessary time horizons. Many financial services professional recommend investing in mutual funds while you're in a long-term investing horizon and then shifting to less aggressive funds as your time horizon constricts. Now, this may be another solid option to consider and discuss with your own financial services professional. And as the article further notes, mutual funds offer professional management as well as a considerable number of options, which could make it easier to implement, let's say, a mix of several securities. And then
Sure.
finally, what are often called balance funds may even provide a balance between stocks and bonds that are held within a single fund.
Huh. Okay, balanced funds. I hadn't we haven't talked about that much in the past on the show, but it's clear to me that mutual funds are an excellent reason to have a conversation with a professional. You don't want to try to figure these things out on your own, and this is something you deal with every day with your clients. What's going to work best for them, right?
Yeah, for sure. And listen, even if you end up deciding that mutual funds aren't for you, there's never any harm in sitting down with your financial services professional to do your due diligence and consider all your options. Now, let's look at stocks and bonds, for example. As I explained earlier in the show, stocks and bonds may be an especially solid option if you have a long term time horizon. However, stocks and bonds may be an especially solid option if you're I'm sorry, stocks might may require research,
Yeah.
understanding, and discipline, all of which means that working with your financial service professional is going to be very key. And then finally, as your horizons get shorter, it may be the right moment to get rid of some risk and adjust your asset allocations towards more conservative options.
Yeah. Yeah, well, great show today. You've laid it out very well for us today, Albert, and I appreciate all the information. But we're out of time. Is there anything else you want to add for our listeners before we go?
Yes, if you have any questions about investment time horizons, your path to your retirement, and any other elements of your financial strategy, visit my website at www.kaizenfinancialgroup.com. That's Kaizen, or call my office at 586-752-7008 to discuss how my team might be able to answer your questions and address your concern. So remember, it's our goal to help you prepare for the retirement you've worked so hard for so you can own your retirement.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Albert. Own your retirement. That's what it's all about. And Albert, great show today, listeners. Thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Own Your Retirement with our host, Albert Lalonde.
Take care, everyone.